folks. This is Randy Shea with PropertyTaxWatchdog.com. This is that certified letter I've been talking about. Part of the reason I make a video every time something affects me pertaining to my rights being taken away without due process is I like to explain why the community would want somebody like me involved. First off, this week coming up on the 13th at 6 p.m. I don't know if that's Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. But look it up at the town website. They're having a connectivity open house. It's going to show a lot of things. Basically, a professional architect design firm has put together some mock-ups of what they might do and tried to give some cost estimates on the types of things they might do to improve connectivity. Well, why would somebody like me, why would you want somebody like me involved? I was involved, I mean, I've lived here since 1996, so 26 years now. I didn't really start to get involved in anything local till around 2000, 2001, 2002, and then I was a co-coordinator of Hang Around Victor Day. Along the way, I got involved in the village government. I was not happy, and I still am not, really, that we have an urban renewal agency. I don't really see a need for it. I don't think they've done anything other than they carry the threat of being able to do eminent domain and sort of use that as a prod to make property owners do what the planners think should be done. So, well, anyway, and then it goes on from there, but I was involved in strategic planning. I went to committee meetings. We had a comprehensive plan that evolved from that, but that was a long process. Hundreds of people involved in it, of the community. The way it's gone since then, and even right now, really especially right now, they totally ignored it. All that volunteerism and stuff, in my opinion, it was sort of like, you know, very major insult. You know, the people that got paid and are in paid positions are supposed to do things, but when the community steps up, volunteers step up to get involved and express their opinions. Maybe they're good opinions, bad opinions. Maybe they got good ideas, maybe they got bad ideas. But if you're going to do that, that means you care. Maybe you have motives that aren't totally upfront and out in the open as to why you're there. But when you get a whole group of people together, that's pretty good. It's probably more representative than elected offices that get very low voter turnouts to pick who will be in charge. Well, regardless, okay, so I was involved in that. And then I took an interest into the Route 96 corridor study because way back I thought it would be a good idea to, starting down around 251, have a parallel route of a road that would go up to, for instance, that's where I thought it should go to Brace Road. Well, at the time, I put the idea out, and everybody, when I went to the meeting, Jack Richter was still supervisor. Everybody at the meeting thought that was a great idea. It didn't involve taking out the existing road. It was running the road parallel. So what they have now, though, is not that. And yeah, I definitely think that we should have some traffic relief. I thought that way back when. And then I became part of Victor Neighbors United. Victor Neighbors United was not so much anti-development, although at the time we were calling for a moratorium on development. It was more smart development in terms of, I mean, some people were anti-development, but the majority of people that got involved back then were just thinking that we had to improve our infrastructure, especially through the village, because it bottlenecks basically, except for the center turning lane, into a two-lane, one way, and then, you know, one way going that way, one way going that way, and then a center turning lane in the village. And down towards, going towards Farmington, it's 2 lanes. That's never going to change unless you take out a lot of houses and use eminent domain to do it. And, you know, you're going to have a bottleneck no matter how you look at it. So the thing about that is, you can tell I know a little bit about this stuff, but what I'm going to tell you right now is I believe the reason for this, because I still don't have causation. I've got some stuff written in the letter that doesn't even sound like me. But the reason that Jack Marin specifically is trying to exclude me right now is because I've been going to the meetings and I know stuff. And some of it, actually, no, not some of it, most of it is not available to the public as to how we got to certain decisions pertaining to connectivity, open house, the stuff that's going to be shown. One thing that is not open to the public or known by most, and probably won't be, but one thing that occurred was that they had a steering committee established. It was supposed to be of stakeholders, people that would be impacted by whatever they were going to do with Route 96 corridor study. However, and I believe intentionally, but whatever the case is, it doesn't matter if it's intentional or not. It was a major oversight not to include Finger Lakes Rail and Victor Insulator, because it was about transportation in general, including rail. They also excluded Friends of the Railroad, which had been running excursions. So those are all stakeholders in terms of what would happen, especially since what they're calling for now is somewhat a disguised, they're not really saying it the way it should be said, but they're wanting to take out the rails, not put them alongside, and make it a total road. And so why I'm saying that is, you know, they did not include people that would be obvious stakeholders, right? So that was about the time I was getting involved, and I was going to the Route 96 corridor studies, the ones that were open to the public. There were a few that were open to the public. And then the steering committee wasn't really technically open to the public, but you could go, and sometimes I got to say a few things. But as far as the steering committees, now, why you're not going to find out any of this, and why a person like me should be involved in this coming meeting on the 13th, and that I can't be involved because of this. And I'll explain why. Yes, I can get special permission, but once you hear the stipulations of the special permission, there's no way I could do what he's asking. So that's the town supervisor. Well, the reason is that, you know, nobody else, you can't look it up in public record as to what happened. I went to the final meeting just before the town decided to go with Labella to go over, I don't know, contract for something. I think it was the DEIS related to what they were going to do as far as taking out the tracks or whatever they were going to do, and all the work that was involved in that. And they hadn't quite decided that, but this is a meeting that was like, most of the people I saw there, I didn't recognize. They were experts and people that worked for different organizations, etc. Yes, there were enough town board members there, though. Open meetings law has been being violated, in my opinion. Unless they found some legal glitch and way to do it, they are having meetings where they have too many government officials that are at the meetings, that they're not taking minutes. So first off, even if they do have the meetings the way Jack Marin runs it, if you watch, it's not even something I think most people would come to this conclusion. You watch the meetings that have gone on, especially during COVID, etc. But you go to a meeting, and the public might be able to say something for 3 minutes or something, and occasionally there's a discussion like something really important like pickleball courts. But the important stuff, like for instance, taking out these tracks and putting in a road, you're not going to find much. And when they do the votes, they don't have discussions about it. I mean, how is somebody who's outside really going to learn what they need to know? See, Jack, if you're listening to this, you're asking me, you asked me, why aren't people getting involved? Why aren't more people getting involved in government? Well, I think it's either because you don't know what you're doing or you're intentionally causing people not to want to be involved. So somebody like me, who has taken my time, gone to the meetings, learned what I needed to know, is being excluded. So I'll read the part in this that basically gives me that conclusion. You are not allowed on town hall premises without prior written authorization from the town supervisor. You may seek authorization by sending an email to the town supervisor's email address. This includes any appearance you wish to make before the various town boards with regard to visits not involving appearances before the town boards, any meetings will be scheduled for a specific location, date, and time, and you shall provide prior written notice of the topic you wish to discuss. The town supervisor's office will ensure that the proper town employees are present at the meeting. So this sounds like an arranged meeting. Well, it goes on to say this. You shall not access or visit any of the town offices without first obtaining written authorization from the town supervisor's office. You may choose to appoint, yeah, that one does not really apply. Any violations of the requirements set forth herein. So, I'm not a lawyer. First off, I did talk to a lawyer. This is a bunch of garbage. First off, somebody gets due process. You can't just take somebody's rights away without due process. Causation, and you know, if I choose before my rights are taken away, I can have it heard by a jury of my peers and all that, or waive the jury and have a judge make a decision, whatever that legal stuff is. But that didn't happen. So this means nothing. I should just be able to walk in there, but they can arrest me anyway if they just decide to. Because a lot of people don't understand the law, so they would just say, "Oh, Randy's in the building. Jack said to call the sheriff's department." It says right here. So why can't I go to the meeting even if I get permission? I don't know who's going to be there. I don't know what I'm going to discuss. I mean, right now, when I did this live video, I didn't know what I was going to discuss. So let me just put it to you this way. My rights are being violated, but it's not just impacting me, it's impacting you. The tracks should not be taken out. Not entirely. The tracks perhaps from, for instance, where the spur is. A spur is where the rail goes off to one side. It goes to Victor Insulator. All the way up to that, my personal opinion, I'm also a board member of the Friends of the Railroad, which I am not representing the Friends of the Railroad in this opinion, because I think they like to keep all the tracks and expand and continue on with tracks. But for me personally, as an individual and a citizen of the village and stuff, looking at all the different parts, I think that the tracks and a road should go in up to 251. And the area that's across the street here would benefit. The business, the whole area here would benefit to have Adams Street expanded, and even I can even see a pavilion over on that triangle area in between the spur and the rail. I could see a pavilion that you could do train excursions, and you can do community events where you have the band play up there, and this whole area facing the library would just become a big festival. I see that happening. I could see it happening, and I think it would be a very good thing. But see, I'm saying that, but I'm not saying that the tracks going to Victor Insulator should be taken out and going towards Lynaugh. Now, another part of that strategic planning meeting is most people were not in agreement with Dave Tantillo when he came forward with the idea of continuing on to Lynaugh from Maple. In fact, I was the one that actually helped get that included last minute by saying, well, this is sort of like a contractor who's just sort of saying, this is what we propose and this is how much it would be. So why not get a quote while they're doing the work? At that meeting, and even at a town meeting, that firm that was hired to do that out of Rochester, I'll try to put some source material down below as far as who we're talking about, but they said they saw no significant improvement in continuing to have a road built past, for instance, Adams Street here. And so that was their official opinion. Now, is that on the record? Is it someplace where you could find it? No, I was there though, and there were a lot of other people there, and I guess, you know, you'll have to take my word for it, but the thing is that there's no significant reason that it would improve traffic, according to the experts, going to the roundabout that's up on Lynaugh. So that's included. Now, you got to be careful. I mean, these people had a lot of time and they're professionals, so as far as putting together a proposal, it's what they left out and what's left out of the public eye and what's left out of public meetings. It's probably the most important. If you're going to go to this meeting on the 13th, it might end up being a waste of time. Like I feel just about every meeting I've gone to for the last 10, 20 years has been a waste of time. The public hearings are more like well, for legal compliance reasons, we got to have a public hearing about this. But they don't really hear you usually. It's usually the decision's already been made, and the discussion didn't even occur in public eye. But so if you're going to go to it though, then hopefully have some questions, and don't just assume that they have all the answers or they even found out what the community wanted, because they didn't. They didn't even go over all the things. The CEO of Victor Insulator overtly said, and I could already say this publicly because it's in the public record, at the town level and at the village level, that taking out his rail service would probably within 4 or 5 years, I don't know the specific verbiage, but he said it would put him out of business. He knows his business. Why was he not a stakeholder? Technically and legally, maybe they got around it somehow, because all they needed is like a 6% survey of those that were maybe stakeholders. I don't know, but Labella didn't do that. They didn't include them. They didn't include Friends of the Railroad, which was a stakeholder who does excursions. They did not include at first. See, they ended up including Finger Lakes Rail, but only because there was a public meeting and it was totally obvious to everybody that they should have been included. So all of a sudden they got added on at the end. Well, Finger Lakes Rail doesn't necessarily care too much about what happens in Victor as much as they care about their business model and the rails that they run. So, but regardless, they weren't included. But the Victor Insulator should have been included. Friends of the Railroad should have been included, but they weren't. So we didn't have a seat at the table at the quote-unquote steering committee that a lot of this evolved to. So what you'll see in the connectivity study is some really great drawings, and I probably would go along with most of what I see, and I think that Labella did a good job, but it's what they left out. See, they say the roads will be the roads, or I don't know, corridor, whatever they want to call it. The roads would go along the rail beds. It doesn't say alongside the rail beds. And the quote of how much it's going to cost to do it does not include moving the rails over. So, in other words, what they're excluding is they're taking the rails out in order to do that.